to the greatest.
Hey, you know JayRay got girls here going way.
Yeah, I haven't done this in so long. Yeah, but we have Professor Hudgens on the show today. I'll let you introduce yourself because I don't know what you want to associate with yourself.
Well, you can call me Laura for the purposes of the podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm Laura Hudgens. I'm an instructor here in mass communication at Piedmont.
That's it. I usually let people introduce themselves because one, I suck at intros, and two, I don't know what.
Intros are hard, I think.
Yeah.
Both doing an intro for someone else and doing an intro for yourself.
Yeah.
It just feels awkward to
It does.
talk about you.
I just rather get into it. But today, I feel like we should talk about women.
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah. See, I knew you'd be the perfect expert for that. I guess the first question, because you've been in the journalism realm, like, because I know I have these debates with people because I'm not telling them what feminism is. I'm telling them there's different people have their different definitions of it. What would you say a feminist is, or what is it supposed to be?
So feminism to me is just the idea that everyone should have equal access to things, equal rights, regardless of gender or sex, because there is a difference there. But yeah, it's not. I think it gets a reputation of being like, oh, women deserve more, women deserve better, but it's really just that everyone should be on an equal playing field.
So it's kind of like civil rights, but
yeah,
it's kind of like civil rights. But
yeah.
What do you mean gender and sex are different?
Yeah, so gender is more of a sociological term, and sex is a like scientific or biological term. So your sex is your chromosomes, your genitals, and then gender is like how you present to the world and how the world treats you in return. So gender is something that people have more of a choice about, and sex is something that is, assigned at birth.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense now. I didn't know that. I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
But I would say, would you say you're a feminist, or?
Yeah, I'm definitely a feminist.
Because some people identify feminists as women that just like to berate men.
Right. Yeah.
So there are some like that, but I think your definition is what the term should be.
Yeah,
going forward, all around.
I think people who claim to be feminist who are, who believe in feminism or feel strongly about feminism because they think that it means that men are less worthy or that they should get less. That's not real feminism. That's something different. That's sexism.
Yeah. So speaking of sexism, how did you feel about when Roe v. Wade got overturned?
I was upset by that. I was definitely bothered. In part just because it was something that had been so long-standing in our country, and it was something that we had determined a long time ago was really necessary in terms of access to health care, in terms of women's privacy. And so for it to be overturned at this point didn't make a lot of sense to me. From a more, I guess, like personal perspective, I'm a really big believer in healthcare, which abortion is healthcare. I'm a big believer in healthcare being a really personal decision for people that they make for themselves or with their doctor, and not making choices based on what a politician wants or what their state legislature is allowing. So I was upset about that one. I still am.
Yeah, I think I was too.
Yeah.
At first, the chauvinistic part of me came out a little bit because like, dang, Plan B is gonna be locked up in a box, and then I was like, yeah, that's kind of selfish. But
it definitely affects men too, though. Like it's not just something that affects women. So.
And I thought it was funny because I seen an Instagram quote about it. They coined it perfect, but I can't find it. It was during this was before Roe v. Wade that I saw it, but it was during COVID, like right when COVID hit, and it was like I think they brought up points like how do you feel about the pro-lifers?
Yeah, I can understand how people would have a really strong opinion or view that like life is sacred. And so I'm a pacifist. So I also believe that life is sacred, but I have a different view from pro-lifers about when life starts. I don't believe it starts at conception. So I think a lot of times when people have this really pro-life stance, it doesn't extend much beyond a fetus. So a criticism that we, hear a lot that I tend to also agree with is that you are expecting someone to bring a baby into the world, but then what happens to that baby after that? And also what happens to the mom? What if it's a teen mom? What if this pregnancy is going to hurt her? So I think taking all life into regard is really important. And the focus can so often just get narrowed down to the unborn child or the fetus.
The same. You hit all the points I was about to say. Yeah, but because the quote was similar to what I was about to say. It was like, because my thing is they kind of contradict themselves as well. Because where are y'all during suicide prevention, bullying, gun reform? I mean, we're in a day and age where now like grocery stores, churches, and schools are being shot up almost every day. So it's like where are the pro-life HIV and AIDS prevention awareness people? Like there's so much other pro-life advocacies that you could be a part of, but you tend to focus on birth of a baby. And like you said, it's a lot of it's more complicated than just a baby being born or being inside a woman's body. It's a lot of complications. I
think from a pro-life perspective, it's easy to just say no abortions, we'll ban abortions. That's how we'll be pro-life, because that's easy. It's a lot harder to say we need comprehensive gun reform. We really need to think about access to social services in this country so that kids have food and education and a good home. Those things are a lot harder. Those things take a lot more proactive steps. They take a lot more funding than to just say you can't get an abortion. So I could see feeling good about saying, no, I'm pro-life. I don't want people to get abortions. I've done my part. Because it's easy. Yeah. It's a lot more complicated to go beyond that with other pro-life initiatives.
So you think they're taking the easy route, basically?
Yeah, I do.
Pretty much. And would you say, because I had this conversation with Alexis during our radio show, Wake Up, and I think we was reporting on, I think it was Uganda. I didn't feel like looking it up because it was a CNN article and it's probably old now, so it's probably hard to look it up. But I think it's Uganda, and they implemented a law banning anything related to the LGBTQ plus community. So, and then within that article, it was a, what would you say? I guess an expert or an activist or something like that. And the way she coined it, it was like, dang, she was like, being black, gay, and a woman in this country, like basically life is pretty much going to be hard for her.
Yeah, that sounds impossible. Yeah,
it's a target on her back. And and then in my head, I was like, dang, are women almost treated as third class citizens?
Right.
I think,
I think so.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, especially unexpected in a country like America, where we do really pride ourselves on being very like first world and having, being really advanced in a lot of ways, but women still realistically don't have the same rights or the same access to things as some other groups, especially women of color, especially women who are part of the LGBT community. There are more restrictions on them, which is, again, unexpected and really unfair in a modern society.
So do women, this is a personal question, but you don't have to answer, because I've seen the thing with Taraji P. Henson and how actors, I'm not surprised, but I was wondering, do teachers also get different, I guess, pay differentials than male teachers or professors?
Yeah, so I know with professors, and I wish, that I had the stats in front of me, but I know at some point I looked at a study that, showed that female professors, women professors are less likely to get tenure than their male counterparts. And if they do get tenure, they're less likely to make the same wage. And I mean, a lot of that can be attributed to things like taking off work to have a baby or to start a family. But there also are just like, there's sex discrimination that happens in there where we aren't making the same amount as our male coworkers. We're less likely to be promoted. So it's definitely something that happens in education.
Dang, I didn't know it got that deep, but yeah. You learn something new every day. But yeah, I did not know it was that bad. But that's why I'm asking the questions.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most important challenge that women face today?
I think equity is something that we really struggle with. And when we talk about equity versus equality, we can think about like the metaphor of the fence, where if three people are trying to see over a fence, equality is giving all three people the same size box, but equity would be giving everyone the size box they need to see over the fence. So I think for women, a lot of times, people try and like have a blanket approach to making things equal for women. And so that really leaves things out of the conversation, like paid maternity leave or just maternity leave in general. I think there aren't acknowledgments about the discrepancies between white women and black women or brown women, LGBTQ differences like we've talked about. So I think we do try and use these sort of easy blanket reforms to make equality for women, and we're not really talking about equity. So it's just, it's harder for women to make the same amount of money. Economics are a huge struggle. Probably the biggest, I would say, is economics. Women aren't necessarily taught that we're good at math. We're not really taught as much about money. We don't typically feel as confident in investing because we haven't been accepted into those economic spaces, right? Like we think about finance bros, and that is a stereotype that could potentially be hurtful, but there is some truth to men have, historically just felt more confident and had more access and had that expectation of becoming involved in investing in the stock market. And that's something that is typically, explained more to men than to women. So there are fewer women who invest. There are fewer women who have, solid retirement accounts or 401ks or other things like that. And so when we don't have that economic equity, you can't get ahead, right? Money is everything in this country. So if we don't have the same access to that, then there is no equity there.
Okay. Now, switch things over. How do you feel about the ideal? It's like what a lot of men say. It's like I don't know. I would call it an ideal because I don't see it as something that has to be. I don't know how to coin it, but when men, it's almost it's. I think it has to deal with roles, but I'm trying to figure out a way to say it without saying it the wrong way. So, like there's a podcast I listen to, and they talk about this, how if the male of the household is basically making more money or just making the only money they have in the house, period, that the woman's role should be just to take care of the house and provide for her man and satisfy her man or whatever. How do you feel about people that still think that way, like they're stuck in the 1900s or something?
Yeah. I think it's problematic anytime you assign roles based purely on gender. So I think it's a lot more fair to say whoever is making the most money or, is bringing in the only income, or whoever is spending more time at the office, who is away from the home more, like they probably should expect to do less at home. But I think the idea that the woman should be the one taking care of the home and cooking the meals and cleaning just because she's a woman is really when you run into a problem. Obviously, if either partner is, a stay-at-home parent or a stay-at-home spouse, like I think it's reasonable to assume that they will do the majority of the housework. But we kind of have that system set up from a time when the 40-hour work week wasn't something that we adhered to as strongly. So people weren't spending as much time at work, or at least one partner was spending significantly more time at home. So of course they were the ones who were taking care of the home because they were there. But now when, maybe both partners are working 40 hours a week or more, to expect the woman partner to do the housework just isn't reasonable. I think it's a great way to build resentment because she is going to be so busy and so tired, and sort of, sharing that load and making sure that it's more evenly distributed amongst both partners is a much healthier approach, and one that's going to be more beneficial for the relationship. Yeah.
To piggyback off that, mine's not going to be as articulate, but I just don't see, maybe because I was raised different, so I see men and women on the same playing field. That's why I don't believe in roles. I believe, I barely believe in the 50-50 or 60-40 thing people like to pull out. I just think whatever you and your partner is right for each other. I don't believe something is supposed to be that way, if you get my drift. I don't believe women are supposed to not take care of the house. Everybody's supposed to take care of the house, but just be in that role of just basically being a housemaid.
Yeah.
Instead of a partner or
100%.
someone that has the free will to do what they want. I don't feel like roles is the perfect term for everyone. But,
and we have great examples of how that doesn't work. My mom is a terrible cook. Like, my family, my dad would not want her to be the one cooking the meals just because she's a woman. So, yeah, like you said, like, doing what works for that partnership. Like, relying on your own strengths and making sure that it's equal instead of assigning roles based on gender.
Yeah. So you say your mom can't cook?
Oh, she's terrible. She can make scrambled eggs, kind of, and that's about it.
So have you ever asked her well, I don't know how long she was single or if she lived by herself, but did she go out and eat every day or something?
So in college, she was the manager at Hardee's. So I think she ate a lot of free Hardee's food when she was at work. And then I know after college, she moved back in with her mom for a little bit, and my grandma was an amazing cook. Okay. So I think that was where most of her meals were coming from before she married and met my dad.
So does your dad cook most of the meals now?
Yeah, he's a fantastic cook. He's really good. And he loves it too. Like, it's something he enjoys.
Okay. Yeah. At least she's aware, though.
Exactly.
What else was I going to say? I think we hit everything, though. I think that was it. What do you think, like, just hypothetically speaking, what do you think needs to happen in the next 10 years as far as women not being as oppressed as they are right now?
Yeah. So maternity leave is a huge one, and I've kind of touched on that a little bit already, but we have really terrible maternity leave policies in this country, especially compared to a lot of countries in Europe where they will get months and months, sometimes up to 12 or 18 months of paid time off to spend time with their baby. And so we have these expectations of women women need to be mothers, they need to be nurturers, but then we don't really give them the ability to do that. And so we really set women especially behind when we don't pay them for maternity leave. So they end up losing their job or at least losing that big chunk of income. And that's not something that you can always make up. So that really sets women back economically. And I really think that's the biggest thing we need to work on. And paid paternity leave also needs to be a thing. Like, babies need whichever parents are involved, man or woman. So parental leave is it's going to be a really big one for ensuring more economic equity, for ensuring, healthier relationships, healthier balances between work and home life. And it's beneficial for both parents and babies. So
what's the worst, I guess, maternity leave policy you've seen?
So a lot of maternity leave policies, a lot of places don't really have a policy at all. Instead, they just rely on Family Medical Leave Act, which is FMLA. It's just unpaid leave. So you can take a certain amount of time off to be at home with your baby, but you're not getting paid for it. They just can't fire you during that time for not being at work. So instead of having any policy in place, they just tell you to take FMLA, you lose that pay, but they also can't fire you, and they see that as adequate. But babies are expensive, and paying the bills associated with having a baby, like, that's expensive. So to have that time off and not being paid, I think that's a real deterrent for a lot of women. Like, I know women my age who want to start a family, but they're scared to have kids because they know of the impact it's going to have on their bank account. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what's the longest amount of time? Because me being naive, I thought 3 months was good enough. Because I know there's on the scientific type of things, or you don't even have to be science. The mother should spend time with the baby just so the baby. I think they said they have to, like, sense of smell and certain stuff like that.
Yeah, they have to really bond. And connect with their mother. So I think most experts say like a 6 to 9 month period is
I did not know that.
Good. A year is best. There are countries that have 18-month paid maternity leave, which is, the most ideal.
That's a little too far.
I think after 18 months, I'd be ready to be, even after like 9 or 10 months, I'd be ready to be back at work. But yeah, I think, 6 to 9 months of at least like part-time remote, like working with mothers to ensure that they have that time with their baby. So there's I think it's a baby clothing company. It's Kite Babies, Kyte, recently came under a lot of fire because they're, again, a baby company. And they had an employee who her baby was, I think she delivered early, so her baby's in the NICU, and she asked if she could work remote so that she could spend time with her baby in the NICU. And they told her if she didn't come back in person, she would be fired. So even when you have these companies who are focused on the health of babies, they're still more focused on that bottom line and having employees in the office instead of with their baby who needs them.
That's wild.
It's not good.
Yeah, that's wild. A year. I did not think about that. I thought 3 months was decent. You learned something new.
And a lot of women would be incredibly grateful for 3 months of paid maternity leave, for sure. 3 months is definitely better than nothing.
Yeah. Because I know I have a friend that but I don't know when she returned to work. But I know she's been out for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
I think she works for Amazon. So Amazon's, I don't know how their maternity leave works. Some of the benefits are pretty good, though. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I think we pretty much touched on everything.
I love your curiosity.
Yeah,
You're not afraid
I'm
to get
not.
into the tough stuff.
Yeah, after the LGBTQ episode with Chloe, I think,
Yeah.
that broke the barrier. But I'm just interested in learning stuff. Yeah, my podcast is to teach people, but also myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What advice would you give to young women today?
I would tell young women today to not be afraid to do some of this stuff that is maybe a little bit more male-coded. Learn about investing, learn about money, keep a budget. Don't be afraid of sort of male-dominated spaces, such as economic stuff. Don't be afraid to get into business. Don't be afraid to go to the gym. Like, don't be afraid to enter these maybe predominantly or historically male spaces, because you have every right to be there. And while we can't fix everything on an individual level, it definitely helps to be present and to make space for ourselves, even when that feels really gross and really awkward, and maybe counterintuitive to a lot of what you've been, indoctrinated with as a woman. Just don't be afraid to take up space. Don't be afraid to make noise, and to just be present.
Okay. And then the last thing, this is my personal thing, because I saw a video, a woman in Vegas. Apparently, the guy that groped her or whatever, he got arrested. But the initial video I saw, he didn't get arrested, and it kind of resonated with me a little bit. Because even though I'm not a woman, I'm just like, it's just certain. And I guess the issue is a lot of people don't put themselves in the other person's shoes. And at least try to feel where someone's coming from. But I was just like, dang, so women have to deal with that every day. And it's like, a lot of guys will say, oh, she just touched on the butt or whatever. It's not a big deal. It's not going to affect her. But, yeah, she doesn't get that moment back. It's a violating moment for her. Like, it's almost as if, and I couldn't find the comparison earlier, but it's almost as like somebody panched you. You wouldn't be happy because you just pretty much expose yourself to everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, so how you feel about certain things like that? Like, but that can happen every single day. And a lot of times nothing is done, which is pretty insane to me.
Yeah, I think we've really normalized as a society a lot of things where it's like, if you're not raping someone, then if you're just grabbing their butt or, grabbing their boobs, like, oh, it's no big deal. It's all fun and games. It's boys being boys. So those things have been really normalized, and I think people need to see them for what they are, which is sexual harassment at the very least and assault at the most. And I don't really believe in like making an example out of people, but I do think the more we see people facing consequences for that sort of thing, the better. And I also think it's so important for men to acknowledge their role in, telling their friends, like, that's not cool, that's not okay what you did. It's obviously not on men to fix things, but I think if they are unafraid to call out their male buddies when they see them do things, or to stand up for a woman who they see treated that way, I think that goes a long way. I
think I wholeheartedly agree with you, because we and Amani had the same conversation. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, my chauvinistic mindset was, oh yeah, boys will be boys, because we were talking about it in the high school setting. I was like, yeah, it's not that bad, but at the same time, yeah, it kind of still is. It's still a person, it's still a human being.
Yeah.
You should still respect people. And then I think what you said about men should teach men that. I think that's a very important thing. I think fathers should teach they teach them how to treat women, but I think above the surface things too as well. Like, simple as that. Because
Agreed.
some men will look at that and go, yeah, and actually condone that behavior and say, yeah, that's my son. Just because I guess he's not showing feminine qualities, I guess, which is another big issue. But we won't touch on that too much. But yeah, that was yeah. And then the rape thing is a whole another.
Oh yeah.
I mean, women are pretty strong than what I thought, because it's just certain as I am a half film major now, and I watch more I like in-depth films that show the realities of the issues today. Like Tyler Perry does a lot of that, and a lot of people give him, mostly men, give him pretty much shit because of it, but because a lot of it is depicting some of the issues that men, how do I coin it? How men are sometimes the root of women's problems, which is not 100%,
right?
But sometimes, like for example, the rape thing, the way we've seen rape scenes before, but the way he showed it, like she was literally helpless. They literally showed him ripping her clothes off one by one, and she's just defenseless. She's little, he's bigger, and I'm like, how does she ever move on from that?
Right.
Like, how do some women that have to unfortunately go through that situation, how do they move on? Like, how do you can't get that moment back. It's in your head. Even when you find a new partner and y'all want to get intimate, it's like, it's in the back of your mind.
It's such a trauma and such a violation that you can't just forget it ever happened.
Yeah. And it's just a helpless moment. So I just thought I'd throw that out there too. But yeah.
I love your awareness.
Yeah. I'm trying to get there. I think that's it though.
Awesome.
If you don't have anything else to touch on.
No, I loved the conversation. This was good.
All right. Did you want to throw out your socials for them, or you don't want any weirdos following you?
I'm not super active on social media, so I think I'll skip that part.
Okay. All right. Well, now I'll do my awkward outro, because you just love outros, right? I want to thank everybody for watching. If you're listening on audio, make sure you share. Give me some stars, comments. YouTube, subscribe, like and comment if you want. I don't really care. Instagram, real.t.radio. TikTok, Real Talk Radio with 2 O's. And now we're trying to implement something new. I got an email. So if you liked what we were talking about, or you want Laura.
Thank you.
They don't know the inside joke, but yeah, I don't call Professor Hudgens Laura just because of the way I was raised. So yeah, if you want Laura as a guest again, you can just let us know on the email. The email is realtalkradio626@gmail.com. Yeah, let us know what you like, what you didn't like. Got some other topics because there's not really much going on right now. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for tuning in.